out what he is, how much of research that he has done, and then decide whether you want to go to the doctor. If he doesn't have a good patent, maybe you don't want to go to him unless he is a beautiful doctor. The fact is also that I could also do research about the disease that I'm going to do and give my doctor 5 simple options, and most probably he doesn't know what to respond. Because let's face some facts over here. Poor guy is treating patients, he's not sitting on the net reading stuff. And we go and do a search, and then he says, oh, thanks for the options, maybe one of them that I can use. Now, the problem with all these things is we don't like errors, people making errors, the way technology is changing. You can actually judge whether a person is doing a mistake or not. The fact is that a human can make an error. But the fact that you can actually get that information off the net makes it that humans cannot have the ability or the liberty to make mistakes anymore, which is a lot of pressure for society. You have managers who sit and say, you know what, let's come for a meeting and do A, B, C, do these stuff. The digital millennials, okay, digital millennials are the people who are between the age group of 14 to 24 as of now, and that is increasing. They do not like getting assigned work like this. Maybe you might want to tweet to them what their tasks are. You might get a better response. But the fact is, they think differently, they want to be treated differently, and they want to be interacted with differently. We have to acknowledge that, and that has to come out in the applications that we do. One sad thing is also that I have not this guy, but a guy similar to this who has a very small shop near my street where he is there. And one day when I was coming, this watch strap broke, and I took it to him. He took me some 10 minutes and found out a kind of clip which he fixed it and gave it to me. I'm sure if I had taken it to an authorized service center, they would have taken 2 days to fix it. But then that's gone, whether you like it or not. Personally, I like it, but then it's gone. And then there is a lot of sites where you have this concept of crowdsourcing, where a lot of people get together and are willing to do stuff for you. The competition is pretty huge. Sometimes they do it for free. I mean, like, let's take the forums that you have. Nobody gets paid to answer in a forum, but then there are motivations for that. There are low-paid sites, like you pay $5 for getting a new logo of your company, for getting your resume done. You don't have time. Give somebody $5, they'll make a resume for you. But then these are small-scale stuff which comes as people come together. But then there are other professional sites also which help this kind of a behavior. Go there together, bid for a small amount of money, do a small bit that you can. It might be a complex project with multiple tasks. You take one small task and do that. For example, there's a crowdsourcing thing which does translation. You register to that, you get a word in a language in your phone as an SMS. You translate that word alone and send it back. The software there encapsulates everything and makes the final translation. Now that you have a lot of people willing to do stuff, that means that the spectrum of a community, the spectrum of an audience has drastically expanded. And then if you look at, let's say, the third world countries where we have a lot of people, and India is somewhere in between a developing country and a third world country. We are much better off, but not yet to be a developed country. So if you look at something like a developing country, let's say countries which are there in Africa, you would say that, oh, they are so much behind, they are a developing country. Well, actually, the fact is, Africa, Nigeria has one of the biggest WiMAX penetrations in the world. They have actually leapfrogged over internet connections. They are not handicapped by the cable connections that exist today. That means the reach of internet in Wi-Fi or through WiMAX for people in Africa is much more. There's a telephone company which applied for a banking license. You know why? Because what they are doing is they're converting minutes into currency. The way you think is changed. You go to a fruit shop and you ask them how much is it. That guy will actually say this is 2 minutes. 2 minutes? Yeah. You go to the shop, 1 kilo of tomato, 2 minutes. Okay, you ask him his phone number, type his phone number and press a button. 2 minutes of your talk time gets transferred onto his mobile. Okay, you have bought your 1 kg of tomato for 2 minutes. Now, the interesting aspect of that is how you look at technology changes from place to place, and that is kind of driving whatever you want to do in a regular way of life itself. There's this other company which says that, you know what, I'll test software for you, okay? And if they find a bug, you pay them $1. If they don't find a bug, that's nothing. So wouldn't you be happy paying $1 for a company which does testing for you? You'd be more than happy to do it. Then there's another company which actually does a manual verification of what you're trying to type. It's a kind of reCAPTCHA. It's instead of an automated, they have this power to generate really complex CAPTCHA images. Okay? And when somebody types an enter, there's actually somebody sitting in the background. It comes, they manually verify it and say, yes, this is the right input. No, it's not the right input. Okay? So it's become so cheap to do that. There are companies which offer that. Then the other thing that's happening is, because of the constraints that's faced in developing countries, they come up with innovative stuff of doing stuff. Like for example, in India there's this concept of missed calls, right? You make a person and you give a missed call. That implicitly means please return the call. Interestingly, you know what? When I had gone to Redmond, I found some of those guys doing that same trick. I called them and gave them a missed call. They called me back. I'm not talking about Indians over here. They have realized that, oh wow, okay, this is an interesting way. Why leave a voicemail? When I call and stop a person, I know that I want him to call me back. So it's reverse innovation is something where a developing country does something, finds it very successful, and then a developed country adopts that practice. With the power of human population, which is spread across the world, the way that we behave as a society is definitely changing. It's just that you might not have enough people in your community, but then as long as they are there in some part of the world, it makes a difference to you. Imagine like next time you want to buy a bulb, you actually go and you can buy it from China. Okay? Or somebody would give you an order from US to do a shipping of a furniture or a carpet that's being done in China. Now that gets us to an interesting problem that when you think as a society, you feel that your next door furniture maker was your competitor. Well, actually you realize that your next country guy is actually your competitor. And that leaves us with a lot of challenges that technology on one hand, society behavior changed technology, and on the other side, if you look at it, technology is also changing behavior. Okay, now since all these different changes are happening, it makes us really think or force us to rethink the way in which we have been doing it. Nobody knew it. Telephones were not popular at that time. So if we did not know that there's an opportunity called call center 20 years ago, now with the rate at which technology and society is moving, how many of us can really say 15 years from now, this is going to be the job opportunities which exist? We don't know. We cannot teach it. Let's face some facts. Media. Newspapers are competing with each other. You know what? They are getting glossy paper, they are getting colored pictures, they are changing the format of it. A newspaper is becoming a tabloid, right? It's becoming a masala paper. There's some papers which is just that. I don't know news. It's got a lot of masala in that. Interesting time pass. But that's not the way to compete, right? The competition for newspapers is actually coming from some other place. It's a different media itself. And there it's available, free, and some people are trying to get some money out of it. But then more or less it's kind of free in a lot of places. So that's become a real challenge. When you had to travel, in your company especially, you used to go and stand in front of one small booking desk in one corner of the office, stand in a queue,